Hello, everyone. I'm Kelvin Fu. I'm the principal consultant and advisor of 167 Capital. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to tune into this video. I'm going to share a method that I use in leading a co-create strategy workshop. It's a method that I use in many organizations that I've reshaped or built over the years. I encourage you to give it a go or reconstruct it to make it your own. I like for everyone to think about why is a co-created strategy important. Co-create means built by and for the people. I think, many of us, we always engage in discussions about, skin in the game or taking ownership. And really, a co-created strategy is the very heart of what connects us all. It is the start, it is a start and a demonstration of what we mean by skin in the game, as well as taking ownership. Anyone in this method that I'm going to share can do it. It comprises of 5 simple steps. First step is what are our challenges, which is largely around identifying the problem that we're trying to solve. Second is what does good look like, which is all together putting our heads in and identifying in a statement what does good look like. Third is how might we get there, which is what are the activities that we would need to carry out in order to achieve what good looks like. Fourth is what might stop us. As you can imagine, it'll be the risks. And 5, what are the opportunities? And the opportunities consist of things like perhaps increased revenue, perhaps cost reduction or cost avoidance, strategic benefits, or perhaps any other sustainable areas or other different kind of organizational benefits in that you can think about. A strategy document is not an action plan. I think that's something we need to be able to differentiate. A strategy document, the best way I can describe, is like a menu of a restaurant. A strategy document, if we differentiate as a menu of a restaurant, is like something that's been put together by a team, perhaps multiple chefs or by an entire restaurant. And I think it's essential to see a strategy document or a menu as a form of art. I said it because it encompasses the ethos, the vision, and the mission of what a team or organization or restaurant is trying to share with everyone, sharing with its customers or its diners. An action plan is a detailed project plan to deliver that strategy. And this is where an action plan, is about the capability development, or it gets to a lot more technical activities that then come to the mix and it's required to deliver that strategy. It's a bit like documenting the cooking process that of what's on the menu. And then the implementation activity is what comes out of the action plan, and it really is the actual cooking or the actual rollout or development activities, deployment, change management of that action plan. And then there is a final phase after what's implemented would be perhaps an improvement phase, but this typically leads back into a strategy refresh. So think about strategy, action plan, implementation activity, an improvement phase, and very likely it goes back to strategy refresh again. Before I start stepping through the 5 steps in this method, I would like to just check in on key principles. And the 6 of these principles that I'd like for everyone to just, hold that thought on the side as we go through the 5 steps. The first is checking in and checking out. Checking in and checking out is important because checking in is really bringing everyone into a space, and checking out is letting everyone leave the space. And within checking in, there's one really important or a very powerful activity, and that's grounding. And grounding is as simple as everyone holding a silence for perhaps a minute, or perhaps a meditation session where we're getting everyone to perhaps shut your eyes and listen to the sounds, in the room or listening to the sounds that surround us, or even feeling our senses or the various aches or pain points, or even listening to what's in our head. Why is it important? It's important because if you can imagine, everyone coming into a strategy session would have arrived from different situations. Perhaps someone might have had quite a tight, crowded train ride into the session. Perhaps someone might have had some family challenges or struggles, or perhaps someone's just won, a $1 million lotto, and they're just not sure of the ticket and they're really excited. The idea of grounding is to enable everyone to just park those thoughts on the side and come together and share the space together. And sharing and holding the space then enables everyone to really unfold and bring their selves into creating a strategy. The second item of the 6 is do not preempt. If you're leading a strategy session, I think it's important not to preempt your attendees coming in. All you want to do really is to let everyone know this strategy session, we're coming together to co-create. All we need you to do is to come in with a clear mind. Come in well rested, bring your favorite drink, or wear your favorite t-shirt and jeans or something like that, or clothing. The third of the 6 is keeping it simple. I think keeping it simple is important, and it's something that everyone needs to help each other on. When we start to dive into the detail or start to go into solutions mode, then we're actually, in that sense, putting some barriers onto the flow of ideas and information. And hence, it's important that everyone works together. And also, not keeping it simple also means making it perhaps less understandable. The fourth of the 6 is it's very, very important in my opinion, is that being in the present and being positive. Everyone needs to, all of us need to constantly remind each other that it's not a post-mortem session, neither is it a crystal ball reading session. We've all got to stick together and hold that space and be forward-looking. That's what we're here to do. We're here to co-create what the future looks like. Number 5 of 6 is sugar spikes and falls. I think we all know the impacts of sugar or carbs or whichever word that you best connect with. For example, we had a heavy meal, and half an hour later, what most of us typically feel a little bit, draggy, sleepy. So we've all got to take note on how, afternoon teas or lunches or morning teas and the impacts on our alertness and our ability to contribute. And the final number 6 is principles to take note of is it's very important that co-create strategy sessions have got endorsement and support from executives. It could look like executives popping in to say hi and just, letting everyone know, hey, really glad and happy that everyone's coming together. I'm really proud of this team. Please let me know if there's something I can assist you with at any point in time before or after the session. And cascading support, and endorsement of executives also could also mean an essential in creating a run sheet for them to deliver buy-ins, across different executives in the organization. And finally, within endorsement and support from executives is around culture reset and support programs that might be essential. We've all got to recognize that, we may have a strategy document, an action plan, and an implementation program. However, if there are perhaps culture issues that we have not addressed, then that would impact the success of the strategic or strategy outcome. Hence, culture reset or support programs is essential to review or to understand whether that needs to be put in place. Okay, I would like to now swap screens, and we are going to look into the 5 steps. What I've done on this single page is, of course, to try and keep it on the one page, is to provide maybe for better word, a cheat sheet on the 5 steps of a strategy workshop. And as you can see in front of you, we got step 1, and that is what our challenge is. Step 2, what good looks like. Step 3, how we get there. And step 1 to 3 typically could be completed within a day, and that really depends on the size of the attendees. When typically something that would take you a day would be maybe if you have maybe 12 or maybe 10 or more attendees, because it does get challenging, and typically that would take a day. And then you've got step 4, and that is what might stop us. And step 5, what are the opportunities? You can see that I've grayed out step 5 because I find that it's a bonus, because that is on day 2. And many a times, it's a bit like if you want to do something a lot faster, then chances are you might impede on your quality. So it really depends. But overall, within the first day and within the second day, these 5 steps you should be able to complete it. If we now look onto the top part of the screen here, what we got here is preparation. So what I like to share here is that take note that it's about a 6 to 12 hours session, and likely we will do it over 1 to 2 days. Second is I would suggest that it's an off-site venue. The reason is that you would like to take people out of a space in which is familiar. And going off-site it triggers a lot of emotions. It triggers different type of senses, as opposed to something that everyone's in there every day, if you know what I mean. The third is, please do look into catering morning tea, light lunch, and afternoon tea. Fourth, a strategy facilitator is preferred. And at times, if the group is large, you do need an assistant, because you might split into different working groups. And also being aware that there are post workshop activities that would need to be completed, like documentation, follow-ups, moving into the action plan, as well as moving into the implementation program areas. And fifth, as we shared earlier as part of the principles, do not preempt the attendees. Just excite them of the intent of the co-create workshop and the food. So let's get to the day itself. So imagine you're on the day of the workshop, and everyone's not arrived yet. And what you're going to think about is setting up the day, right? So there are 3 areas. First is print onto A4 sheets, or if it's a whiteboard style, or you got large whiteboards or various whiteboards in the venue, then perhaps write it with a marker. If not, print onto A4 size paper or lettered size paper within the US, the 5 steps below. And what I suggest is to blue tag those 5 sheets of paper onto the venue so that it's easy to remove. The second is prepare rectangular stickies. They're mostly about this size, and as well as Sharpie markers. So this will be useful. Sharpie markers are clear, and and people can read it clearly as well. And lastly, clear the floor of all tables and chairs. Only have the required chairs there. Let everyone sit in a circle, or let everyone form their own groups. When you have tables and chairs in the middle, it brings in a very formal feeling, and that might make people feel a little bit more tense. Okay, so we get to step 1. So step 1, let's call it day 1, activity 1. We go through a check-in, what it looks like. People arrive, assuming people arrive, everyone puts their bags down. They grab a seat, they get comfortable, they're having a bit of chat, and within 5 minutes, let's say everyone arrives. We go through a grounding session, takes about 10 minutes, and then we do something fun. Ice breaking is important, because after you ground everyone to that could run everyone to a shared space, then the next thing you want to do is get everyone started on an activity. So ice breaking is like a pre-activity. And then second is to establish a social contract. So that's like the real first activity when everyone comes in a social contract. I think most of you would know what a social contract is, so I'm not gonna touch on that. And then next is to establish what the intentions of everyone is. And typically what I do is I just go through every person and say, what's your intention for the session today? It is important because from time to time through the session, we would like to check back into the intentions that everyone has shared. And the more ticks we have throughout the 2-day workshop or single-day workshop, if we're having something compressed, then we can feel a lot more comfortable that we're on the right track. Okay, so step one, what our challenges is, if we look into going to Act 2, so the first thing when we dive into what our challenges are, and that would be an activity that should take no more than 2 hours. The first thing is, okay, everyone gets a sticky pack and a marker, and I usually give about maybe 3 minutes, and I'll say to everyone, all right, think about in the present time with no more than 5 words, just write out your thoughts on what are the challenges that you're facing or that you see or feel or sense in the present time. And just give everyone 3 minutes. You might need 5 minutes if that's not enough, but just let everyone know 3 minutes. And once everyone is done, get everyone to stick them up on the wall, and then get everyone to then pop in to say, hey, this is what came up. Okay, because you can imagine everyone's just gone through some intensive thinking. So let's just let everyone have a bit of a step back, and then after that we'll dive into a grouping of stickies into 3 themes. I typically recommend people, value, and process. As you can see at the back here, you've got people, value, process, and the top here is it's a picture of what it could look like when everyone sticks the stickies on the wall, and then the grouping of stickies into 3 teams is with people. It's largely around anything to do with people. Some people some might raise challenges to do with people, say, perhaps there are leadership challenges, perhaps we're understaffed, perhaps we've got capability issues and things like that. And the challenges under value could be perhaps our stakeholders are not happy, we don't seem to be delivering the right solutions, we seem to be behind other organizations in terms of solutions, for example. And then finally, process could mean we don't have technology, we don't have a compliance or governance process, or we don't have an opportunity to improve our processes. And so hopefully these 3 groups would give you a bit of idea on the typical typical themes that I usually group them to. You might feel that it is a need to maybe create another theme, but I would suggest not going to anything more than 5 themes, and I'll definitely suggest sticking to 3 themes if you can. Again, keeping it simple is essential. And once you've got the 3 themes, the next step is to form 3 groups within. If you've got 3 themes, then try to form 3 groups of people from the 8, 9, or 15, or maybe even 20 people that you've got in your strategy workshop. And the 3 groups would then come together and to further rationalize what's been grouped into themes, into sub-themes. So imagine you got 3 groups of people now standing under people, value, and process, and they're going to now rationalize them further into another 3 sub-themes. It could be 2, or it could be 3, but definitely no more than 5. And then once that's done, that's where each group now does a presentation of their theme to just unfold with everyone, go through a clarification process, and use it as an opportunity to maybe clarify, if not refine the understanding of those challenges that were raised. And then finally, what I typically do in these sessions is to give everyone $10, and the way I typically do is to either use with the same rectangular stickies to tear maybe 5 sheets and into 5 strips, sorry, and each strip representing $1 each, and then everyone's got $10, and we could form a line and allow everyone to just on their board stick maybe $5 on one item, $1 on this item, two on another, and then maybe another $2 on another item. And as everyone come together to put this together, you would then see, which has the most money, means that is the most critical or the most important. And then we get to Act 3 or Step 2, what good looks like. With the sub-teams now created, with the 3 groups that we have formed, the next step is to then create statements, create present moment statements of what good looks like of each of the sub-team. And for example, if there was a leadership sub-theme that was created, then what we want to do is, and this sub-theme would have been identified or created by the 3 groups. And for example, in the space of leadership, what good looks like could mean our leaders have our back and we can be ourselves at work. And maybe there's also another sub-team under people that is development, and that could be what it should look like in the present moment is we have regular capability development activities. So that is what good looks like. And just doing that across the other, in this example, we've got 6 different sub-teams here. And then once those what good look like statements are created, then the next step is again, similar to Act 2, is each of the groups then share what good looks like and create a conversation, and then again refine that. And Act 4 or Step 3 is how we get there. So as you can picture now, by this time we have identified our challenges. We would also have identified what good looks like, which is let's say the flip side of our challenges. And what we want to do next is we want to be able to identify what are the key activities that will help us achieve what good looks like. And with the same group of 3 groups, that is, and what they would to do next is basically to identify maybe 2 to 3 activity headlines for each area, and going through something similar again, going through a discussion and refining process, and again doing what was done in step 1. Step 1, what are our challenges, and that is to vote. Okay, and that is again giving everyone $10 and letting them place their votes on the activities. So once you get by the end of step 3, we understand what are our challenges, what are the critical challenges. We want to also understand what are the activities to achieve what good looks like, and we will also understand what are the prioritized critical activities. And as you can see here, you've got, after we have identified what the activities are, we would also want to nominate a champion at the end of it. And I would recommend that we do so after we have completed the vote. Because once we completed the vote and we know perhaps what are the top 5 prioritized activities, for example, we can either focus on nominating a champion for those top 5 and then parking that, or we can do them all. So by the end of step 3, we would very likely, because that would be about probably 7 hours each, We would then reach the end of the day. And Act 5 is about checking out. And it typically takes about half an hour, and it comprises of firstly bringing everyone together, in a round seating format. I would recommend that, to reflect what has been achieved, and then going through a thought process of say about 10 minutes on what came up for you today. So that should take about 10 minutes, not 10 minutes per person. What came up for you today? So as everyone shares that one by one on what came up for you today, everyone would then be able to tune into, all right, this is what what you felt, what you went through, the thoughts, and in combination, we are then in that sense solidifying the what is unfolded for everyone. And finally, as the last bit of a checkout is for everyone to just hold a minute of silence. Holding just 1 minute of silence is it's an awareness way on sealing the activities that unfolded throughout the entire day. Okay, so you can imagine now everyone's going to go home. They're going to be thinking about the entire day. They're going to be sort of leaning into the space. They will have questions. They're going to come back in the next morning. And the next morning, everyone arrives, hi, there's greetings, everyone's sitting down, having a bit of chat, and, putting the bags down. And now, similar to day one, we're gonna do grounding. All right, we're gonna come together, ground everyone again. Everyone's gonna come from different situations. They might have just arrived from another meeting. They might have arrived through an event that might be negative or positive, and grounding is important. We want to go through another round of ice breaking again, get everyone, connected, fun again. And next we want to do is to reflect on the social contract and intention. We don't want to deep dive into it, but we just want to reflect, and because that warms up our listening senses at the same time. And then we want to, unfold what came up for us overnight. Let everyone, let everyone go through perhaps a popcorn style. Let everyone just speak, or if the room is a little bit quiet, encourage people to speak. And then finally, we want to be able to do a quick recap. So typically it will be the facilitator who will talk through, what has unfolded, just to enable us to get back to day one, know what has unfolded, use that as a basis for day two. And once your check-in is done, then the next step is to start into the what might stop us step. And that will be similar, very, very similar to what was done in the previous steps. And that is, the first thing is identifying the risk headlines that could stop this entire strategy. So for example, what you see here is, and this does not have to be aligned to the sub themes anymore. It can be a general what might stop this entire, or what could stop this entire strategy. And typically I would suggest, at least come up with maybe 7, 8, maybe 10 key risks. If we've only got 3 key risks, it might be a little bit difficult to understand how it all comes together. So I would suggest, letting the team unfold and coming up with at least maybe 6, 7, or 8 different types of risks. And then diving in to identify what's the likelihood, and then sorting them by likelihood. Yeah. So as you can imagine, the high is the highest likelihood, and that's something that would then require as much focus as possible. And then next is to diving into, the mitigation, understanding any kind of understanding what the residual likelihood would be following the mitigation, and then finally nominating a champion for that risk. And just like the previous area, would be discuss and refine that risk. And then finally, once that's finished, and then that's where we get to finally, what are the opportunities, right? Again, I've graded out this section specifically because I think after going through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and going through just about a day and a half of activities, I think that, sometimes there might be some fatigue that everyone will be experiencing, and maybe the opportunities might be a bit challenging. But the ability to maybe stretch might also be helpful in seeing or in helping everyone get a feeling on how perhaps everyone comes together towards pushing the final bit of energy out. And hence, that's what you got here is are the opportunities, right? An ability to identify the opportunities, and then going through what the time to implement is, because we want to sort by time to implement. You might identify an opportunity that takes 2 years. You might identify an opportunity that takes 2 weeks, right? That's different because 2 weeks is something that it will most highest impact and the quickest. Or you might get an opportunity that you can implement in 2 weeks, but they might have no benefit or no benefit that's valuable. And benefits entails things like perhaps a change in revenue, a change in a reduction in cost or avoidance of cost. It might be strategic gains, maybe something to do with sustainability, or it might be attrition reduction over a 6-month or 12-month period. And as these opportunities come together, then it's useful to then put together what's the figure. Understanding what's your total figure then enables the team to understand, all right, these are the benefits, then what is it going to cost us to achieve these benefits, right? It's a head start to then putting together a more detailed action plan, and also would then enable the team to now, if you can picture this, work the strategy upwards to the executive, and perhaps getting budget approvals, and resource approvals, and so on and so forth. And at the end of this opportunities, right, by the time we can achieve the identification of opportunities, then it's the end of the day. And what we're going to do next is to then go through a checkout session. And the checkout session typically takes about half an hour to an hour. And what it looks like is it's about 15 minutes of conversation. It's around, again, similar to the checkout of day 1, what came up for you, and allow everyone to share what came up for you. And then there's an additional activity that is where everyone's going to get a sticky. And just 3 things that I typically ask will be, what do you wish? What do you wonder? And what do you like? And allowing everyone to write it down, sticking on the wall, on the board, and then sharing. Let everyone share. Let everyone understand what everyone felt. And then finally, before releasing everyone, is to agree on the next steps. So talk about the next steps. By then, you would have a strategy pack. Let everyone know that there's going to be documentation activities. And most of the time, I would say, let's come back in a week to go through these documents. So it could be a 2, 3, 4, 5 slide on what the findings are, or call it the artifacts, and also giving everyone a heads up on what's next. So we're going to talk to our executives. We're going to move into action planning. We're going to look into implementation programs, so on and so forth. And once everyone's tuned into or sharing a common next steps, then everyone comes together and share a minute of silence. I will now switch back to the main screen. Okay. I would like to dive a little bit deeper into the post-workshop. As mentioned at the start and through the through the step through of the 5 steps, is that there's documentation and things to consider post-workshop. And there are 5 areas to consider. One is documentation, and that is, I suggest doing it at the end of each day if you can. Hence, Hence, do consider if you need a support team. Typically, these sessions require more than one and sometimes more than two people. There's also reviewing and shaping into the pack, and that's quite a lot of activities because you would have a lot of, just picture that you have a lot of scribes onto stickies, and someone's going to need to document all that into for example, an Excel file where you have tables and different tiers of information there. Second is, it's important to circle back after the weekend. So assuming if you end the strategy workshop on a Friday, we got Saturday, we got Sunday, everyone's been, unfolding in their heads. Bring everyone back on the Monday or on the Tuesday, and just half an hour session depending on the size, and let them share what unfolded for them. It would also enable an opportunity where questions or clarifications will be raised and we'll be able to attend to them, or there might be some areas in which we might have missed out on as well. The third is action plan. I think getting ahead of starting to prep for action planning is important because we want to be able to maintain and manage those expectations. The team has come together. We want to demonstrate that we're on top of it. We are serious about it. We're moving forward with it. We want to be able to demonstrate that we have got the intention, and we want to maintain that buy-in. Hence, managing expectations over the next 6-12 months, being able to demonstrate that there's all these activities happening, that's important. As well as doing action planning also means that we're going to start on understanding what the budgets, understanding what the resources are. Fourth is the implementation program, very similar to action plan. Once the action plan is out, we need to start moving to implementation. Again, we want to be able to maintain buy-in. We don't want this to just fall on the wayside. And if it does fall on the wayside, everyone's going to go, for example, not another strategy workshop that we have wasted our time. It's gotten to nowhere. Hence, being able to maintain action plan expectations as well as implementation program expectations is important. And lastly, post-workshop activities would then, how do we then let everyone know that, hey, yep, we've gone through phase 1 of the strategy, and yep, I know there's still a lot of things that might have come in or we might not have considered then, but we will have a refresher strategy session at some stage, maybe in the next 12 months or next 18 months, depending on when, or maybe sooner sometimes. And that's where we can come in together and perhaps create iteration 2 of the strategy. There are no secrets to strategy creation, and I hope that I've been able to share that. Please let us know what you think of this method. Let us know if it's been helpful in some ways, or raise any clarifications that I could possibly assist with. Yes, so give it a go, make it your own, and yeah, raise any clarifications or questions. Thank you for tuning in.